Hey, my name's Ben, and I'm here to show you a little bit about List.js and how you can use it in your Webflow project with collection lists. List.js is just some JavaScript that lets you filter. It's kind of like a live search or live filter by text on a list. So you can see here, this is their page and an example. If I just start searching, type in J, it cuts everything down. And then it's an easy way to single out a specific item in a list. This is a website that I built for a school district in Oklahoma. And if you clicked on the contact a teacher, we did a lot of this. Hey, here's all the teachers, and maybe I'm looking for a specific teacher. I can start typing in, a name and get to a specific staff member. Be able to send that email or visit that teacher site, get that information that I'm looking for. Also use this a lot with document libraries. So if I had a collection of a bunch of different documents and somebody wanted to be able to search and find a very specific resource or document, then would use this. So I wanted to show you how you could implement this and use this in your own Webflow project. So let's get started.
All right, so now I'm in Webflow Designer and I already have some things set up. So I have a site set up that I just copied and pasted the elements, cross-site copy paste using Cards 2.0. So thank you, Jan, for all the awesome elements and copied and pasted those over, kind of arranged things the way I might want them. And then I also have a collection list already created of team members. I have 40 random team members with random names and positions and email addresses, phone numbers, websites, locations. So it's just all dummy data that I've put together and imported in. So I have 40 team members, and then I have this site structure. So now I want to insert that list of staff members, and then I want it to be searchable. Okay. So I'm going to start is if you look at the code pin from the list.js that's linked from the list.js website. So let's just go to list.js here, listjs.com. Boom. And if you go down here to examples, some of these links are broken, but if you go to Johnny's profile, CodePen profile, you'll see some of these. You'll see, hey, at the top there's a search list. It's one of the very first things, or search input. So I can search this list. And so I'm going to need that. And so how I like to do this is I just copy that input and button, and then I put them in an embed. So, and actually before we do that, when we come back over here to the site, I'm going to get into my container and I'm just going to put in a div. So once I've added a div block in, this div has to contain everything that we put in. So the list, the search, all those different pieces, the search elements, all those different pieces have to be wrapped in this. And I'm going to give it an ID of staff since these are staff members. And then inside this div block, I'm actually going to create another div. And I'm just going to call this my search wrapper. So I can style these things exactly how I want. So I'm going to say search wrapper. I can type. Boom. Okay. So search wrapper. And then in here, I am going to add an embed. So let's add an embed. And then I'm just going to paste in that text from that code pin, my input with a class of search, and my button with a class of sort. I'll save and close, and that's added in there. So if I come over here to my navigator, I have my container. Inside my container, I have this is my example that I'll be using later, but then I have my div block, and it's got an ID of staff. Inside that, I have a search wrapper. The next thing I need to add is a collection list. So I'm going to come over here and just add a collection list in, and I'm going to bind that to team members. So now I have my team members listed, and then also in this div block, I'm going to have to add one more thing, and that is another embed. So got another embed, and then this time, uh, what we're going to add here are the variables that help us choose how this sort is going to work. So I'm just going to paste this in, and I'll walk through this here in just a second. But I do have my options. So these are the classes that we'll be using to search, and we'll come in and set these in a minute. And then this tells us what list is this is the JavaScript's being initialized on, the list.js is being initialized on, so we're going to set this here in a minute too. But we have to have this in here, and they all have to be wrapped in this same div. So I'm going to save and close. So I've got one div with all these things in here. And then now it's time to kind of connect everything, right? So I'm just going to take my staff wrap here, and I'm going to just cut it, and then I'm going to paste it in here. And so now it's a part of my list, and I'm just going to connect everything in my data. So I'm going to get this from my name, and then this is my phone number. So we're going to get this text from phone number. This is the email. So let's get the text from email. Okay. And then let's get this text from position. And then let's get this from a location. So you see I've got random locations, I've got email addresses at trogdor.com, Burninator's and villagers. If you're a Homestar Runner fan, then uh, you'll love all of this. If not, I'm so sorry. And then in my button, I'm going to get the URL from team members, and we're going to get that from the website. Those will open in a new tab. So let's say I had a list of my staff members. They have all this information and then their own site. When I have people, or maybe this is a not staff, but it's a list of designers we want people to know about, or whatever it might be, resources. Okay, so I have all those things hooked up now, and since I copied this from that cards project, everything looks good on all these different breakpoints, making my life super simple. Okay, so this is all set up. The list is set up. Um, and so now I just need to make sure everything works the way it should. So let's go through and look at the things we have to have. So what I try to do is keep my classes really simple on the things that I want people to be able to use to search. So my name, I gave the class a name. Phone, I gave the class a phone. Email, email. Position, position. Location, location. You can see those line up. And so I want people to be able to search by all those different, using all those different elements or variables. So down here at the bottom, where I have my variables at, this is the list that it's going to target, or that div it's going to target. It's on their example as users, we used staff as the ID. So I'm just going to put in staff right here and save this and close it. And if you're wondering where that comes from, this div block that wraps everything, we gave it an ID of staff. So that's where we get that. So in here, we're filtering by name. So we have a name, and then maybe I also want to filter by location. So instead of born, I'm going to type in location, and I'm going to save and close. Now the other thing that I need to do is I'm almost set up, but I need to include list.js on this site. So if you come to list.js, you can go to download. I'm just going to download uncompressed list.js, and then I'm going to copy it. And then I use Atom, so I'm just going to grab Atom here, and I'm going to say, give me a new file, and we're going to call it list.txt. I just need a txt file. So any text editor, and then I'm going to paste this in. I'm going to save it. And so now that it's a txt file, I know what you're thinking. This is JavaScript. Shouldn't I save it as a JS file? Yes, but if you save it as a txt file, you can actually host it here in Webflow. So I'm just going to go to my assets panel, and I'm going to upload. And so I'm going to go to my desktop, and in my desktop, let's see here. I got a list.txt, so I put it in that folder. And so now that I've got list.txt, I can actually click on the cogwheel, and then I'm just going to open it up and copy that link. And so I'm going to come back over here on my page. And in my settings on home, I'm just going to click the cogwheel. I'm going to go to custom code. Now you could do this wherever you really wanted to. Um, if you wanted to do this site-wide in the site settings, you could put this code there. If not, you can just put it on the individual pages where you're using it. That's what I like to do, so I'm not calling JavaScript I don't need all the time. And then since I've got this, I'm going to copy this address again because I moved something else over here. So instead of doing script type equals JavaScript, we're going to say it's text slash JavaScript. And for the source, we're going to copy in that address that we uploaded of the text file that we uploaded to our asset panel and hit save. And so now we're including list.js. We have these things named properly. We have our search box up top. Doesn't look pretty, but we can get to that. And then we set our variables down at the bottom. Now there are a couple of things that need to happen. Um, and so let's talk about those now. So um, if you'll look back at the code pin, you'll see that the list has to have a class of list, and we're going to use that. So list has to have a class of list. So I'm going to come up here and grab my collection list, and I'm just going to give it a class of list. I'm going to create that. Now I'm going to save this and publish it, and then go to my live site and refresh. So instead of my one item, now I have all of my items here, and then I have a place to search up top. And so I should be able to now search by name, just like that. I can start typing in text. I could target that name, or we also included location, so I could say, uh, Atlanta. Oh, I'm going to get all the people in Atlanta. There they are. I mean, you say, okay, but you only included name and location. What if we want to include position? We could do that too by simply coming back into our list, scrolling down to the bottom here, and then we can just come up here and give a space or give a comma, a space, and in single quotes we can put in, any other variable that we might want to search for. So if it was position, I had a class name position, so I could just type in position, single quote, save and close. Now I'm going to save this and publish. And if I refresh, I should be able to search by position now. So I'm searching for Burninator, which is not really much position, but you can see it's just showing those items. I can still search by name, and then I can search by location as well. So I have all those different things, and I can keep adding to that list. And then typically what I do to try and make this look a little cleaner, especially with uh, this input up here, is I like to come in and then just, and this is a good way to do this here. I can put in my container, my div block that's wrapping all of this here. Just going to close this all up. And I'm going to add a search element. I'm going to drag this up to the top and leave this in my search block here. And I'm going to give this a class of search. And I'm going to give this a class of sort, because those are the class names I'm supposed to be using. And then I'm going to give this style the wrapper of flexbox. And then I can style this however I want. So this is a class of BTN. In fact, one thing I can do is I can just really quickly cheat and give this a class of BTN, and then click this little triangle and duplicate this class, and then rename it and call it sort. So it looks similar. Oh, I already have that listed, so let's actually go back. Sort. Let's go back before that class was added. Just go back and remove it. Okay, now we have no sort. And we'll just add button in here. And then I can duplicate that class and we'll call it sort. So now that's called sort. This is called search. And so it's the same style as this button. And I'm going to give it in my search wrapper, I'm going to give it flex. And then if I wanted to, if I want to stretch this, maybe center them uh, instead of stretch. Looks like that's kind of off. And then I like to give it a specific height. So um, I'm going to come in here and let's measure and just see how tall these things are. So 46 pixels it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a height of 46. And then I'm going to do the same thing here and give this a height of 46. And then set some tarp margin to line everything up. And then let's set some spacing on the side here. Make sure everything looks right. And then go in here and say sort by name. Or you can say sort by whatever property, or if you're sorting for multiple things, we can just say sort. And then let's save this and publish and refresh. And the cool part about this is I used the embed here. And you'll notice I use those since I'm using search and sort. And these classes are search and sort, that it's styling these, but I don't have to have this embed. I can actually remove it and use the native Webflow search widget. So if I put this in here, people can still search with this, but if they hit enter or actually hit the sort button, it's going to actually, so I can just, I'm going to change this and say search. So if they hit the search button, it'll actually take them to search results for the site if I have that set up. But if not, if they just type in, it's going to live sort. The cool part is with list.js, I've never known anybody actually hit the sort button. You just start typing and it filters, right? But if I hit enter, it actually still uses the site search. So I kind of get a 2-for-1. If you don't like that, you can still use the embed feature, but I feel like this is a much easier way to style everything and make it work properly, look good. So let's save it now that we've got this in here and publish. We're going to refresh. So now my button acts like all these other buttons, says search. I've got this input. I can search by name. I can search by location. I can search by position. And I have all those different options available to me. And the list is live sorting. So I can come back in here if I want to. On my staff wrap, I have a border radius of 8 pixels. So maybe on this one, I want to match it and give it a border radius of 8 pixels as well, just so it matches. But now I have a list that I can filter and on all fronts here. Doesn't matter what view that I'm on, whether it's mobile or desktop. And it's really pretty easy to add in. So let's just jump back through it real quick. Okay, so first we just have to have a collection list. And we need to make sure that that collection list sits inside a div. We have to specify an ID for that div. And then once we've specified an ID, we can use either the embed tool and copy the code from the example, or we can use the native Webflow search tool. We need a collection list, and we're going to give the list an actual class of list. And then we need an HTML embed at the bottom of that list where we put in all of our variables. And so this is where we use that ID for this div. We've got everything wrapped in, and then we put in the classes of the things we want people to be able to filter. We do that, and then we want to make sure that we've included, whether you're using GitHub or you're uploading that text file to the Webflow assets. We want to make sure we're including that list.js, and we put it even in our custom code on our page. We're gonna add that, and then once we've done all that and we publish, then we can filter. So hopefully this video helps. It's something you can use in your projects. I found it super helpful for a bunch of different things, whether it's again like a list of a bunch of documents and resources, whether it's a list of staff members, but it's something where I've got a larger list. I want people to be able to quickly single out one item, take an action. Then this is a great way to kind of to implement that and get it to work. So hopefully this helps. And if you have any questions, always feel free to hit me up. In the video description down below, I have a link for you to clone this site. And then you should be able to kind of reverse engineer, dump in, and use this however you want. So have fun creating cool Webflow stuff. And if you need anything else, don't hesitate to hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Riley Richter.